A while ago, I was stuck in Belgrade airport for a few hours, and since I had nothing better to do, I started studying Serbian out of nowhere. And in less than 3 hours, I reached a good level of basic written comprehension and also 1,000 Serbian words. When I published this on my social media platforms, so many people were wondering how was that even possible? People were also asking why polyglots can do weird stuff like that while we can't learn even a language properly. Hello, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to share with you some polyglot secrets, some learning method that they use, also some misconceptions that you may have about them, and also some stuff that polyglots may be gatekeeping from people. To start with, I'm İclal, I'm 19 and I'm trying to live this life with 9 languages. I'm currently living in Italy, but I'm originally Turkish. This video is not going to be based only on my personal experiences because nearly all of my friends are either polyglots or people who learn a weird amount of languages, so ich habe all diese Erfahrungen versammelt und in diesem Video werde ich euch alles erzählen. Polyglots have so many different ways of becoming polyglots. For example, I'm a self-taught polyglot, which means that no one actually taught me those languages. But some polyglots are a bit luckier. They were born into a bilingual family, then they traveled a lot, they moved to different places, they studied in different places, and at the end they naturally became a polyglot. It's kind of weird that those people just speak all those languages, right? Don't worry, I'm going to explain. The main thing that many people tend to forget is that the reason why polyglots speak like 8 languages and not like 3 is because they learn similar languages. You will probably not see a polyglot who speaks only one of these 3. They are going to speak French and Spanish because Italian is a bit... yeah, right. And if one day you stumble upon someone on YouTube who says that they speak 60 languages, if they have that Polish flag on thumbnail, they also probably have Russian or Ukrainian flag. If they have a Norwegian flag somewhere there, they also probably have a Dutch or German flag, because that's actually the only way you can speak so many languages. So next time you see someone who's speaking a suspicious amount of languages, you shouldn't maybe be disappointed and just take a look at their languages, because there's a great possibility that they are related. The new languages that they are learning can be related to old languages that they learned in the past, or to their native language. For example, I'm Turkish, but I haven't learned a language that's related to Turkish. But if my native language was German, I'd probably have an easier time learning all the rest. So next time you're wondering, how can this girl speak 9 languages? Well, my native language is Turkish, then I learned English, then I learned French. That's the crucial moment. So I learned French for years, and then I started learning Italian and Spanish, and I learned them in a couple of months. And then I started learning German, and I had a really hard time learning German. I'm still having a hard time at my C1 course, but right now I'm learning Swedish and Dutch just as a free time activity because it's not even that hard. And then I also learned Russian, and that's why I was able to understand Serbian texts like this in less than 3 hours. So as you can understand, no, it's not because you're stupid or I'm so intelligent. It's because I have the background, and this background is not something that's so easily built. On that day when I was sharing stuff about Serbian, so many of you asked me how I was even studying that, because like you just randomly decided that you were going to learn Serbian and you started studying it like immediately. How did that even happen? So that's why I think that in this video I should talk to you about lingq, because as many of you probably know, it's one of my favorite tools that I use to learn and to practice languages. And last year I made a tutorial video about lingq that so many of you are still watching, and I know that so many of you are actually using lingq to learn languages. I want to start by explaining how lingq actually works. So it's basically like a language library where you can find all the necessary materials to learn that language. Once you select your language, you're going to get access to a lot of materials. Those are going to be like texts with audios, podcasts, books, or you can also create your own materials. Like if you're watching YouTube videos in that language, you can just upload them on lingq and study them with their transcripts. So lingq is basically going to show you a text, and when you're reading that or listening to that, if you don't understand something, you're going to click on that word, and without having to look out for its meaning in a dictionary, lingq is actually going to show you the meaning, and then you are going to save that word and the word is going to be highlighted. And as you keep reading stuff on lingq, you're going to stumble upon this word many times and it will always be highlighted because in the past you saved it. While you are reading texts, you are going to see all those words that you were learning in the past. So in my case with Serbian, I just added Serbian into my languages and then I had a lot of materials already. So I started with short stories, which literally start with a few phrases, but at the end you are able to understand more complex texts. I kept reading those stories and my comprehension level was increasing because all the words that I didn't know kept appearing and I just naturally learned them. I also used lingq's short stories when I was learning Swedish in somewhere because like I was learning Swedish series and not like just for fun like Serbian. So I listened to those short stories a few times and I wrote the phrases into a notebook. And by time I realized how my comprehension was evolving. So as you can understand, since it had been really useful for me in the past and since I really didn't want to look out for any Serbian resources because I wasn't seriously learning it, I just started studying Serbian on lingq. Even if I wasn't really serious with it, I reached a good level of written comprehension. Normally, of course, that's supposed to take a little bit more time and not like 3 hours, but since I speak Russian and since I'm a polyglot, it happened that way. But it still doesn't change the fact that lingq is a super efficient tool for everyone who wants to learn or practice languages. In the description of this video, you're going to find a link that will provide you with a 35% discount on a yearly subscription on the platform. So if you also like to try using lingq, you can visit the description and you can also try watching my video from last year because there I told everything in all details, like how the platform works, how I use it, and just make sure that you check them all. Something else that people keep ignoring and maybe don't want to accept is that polyglots actually learn languages on their own. Like I have no polyglot friends who would just decide to learn Spanish someday and then that will try to look for a local Spanish course. Because languages are stuff that you learn online. I think like that's a common sense that we have. I don't know what's the exact reason for others, but as a student, personally, I always had the impression that I understood nothing at school. Because I hated when people keep explaining stuff to me when I already understood it. And I also get real distracted when people around ask questions and you don't even have those questions in your mind and they just bring them out of nowhere. And I actually learned none of my languages at a language school, so if you just decide to learn Spanish at a local Spanish course, you're going to have a Spanish teacher, a lot of classmates, and a textbook that you're using, and a lot of homeworks, right? And you won't have a lot of time. But if you learn Spanish on your own, you have YouTube, and on YouTube there are hundreds of Spanish teachers that won't give you any homework. That won't make you take any exams randomly. And if you don't like the way that they're teaching Spanish, you can just change them. And you're not supposed to follow that one textbook that your teacher wants you to use. You can use everything. You don't even have to use textbooks. It's the freedom that online learning gives you actually, I would say. If you want a more convincing example, I studied Arabic for many years at school. And have you seen me speaking Arabic in any of my recent videos? No, right? Because I don't speak it. I don't think that's the reason as me being stupid or not having any talent to learn languages, right? Because I think I have it. So even if you have someone that's teaching you a language, that's great if you're satisfied with it. Make sure that you make way more time to study that language on your own. Sometimes I see people who get frustrated when they see that polyglots are learning languages super easily. But that makes no sense. Because of all the linguistic background that they have, when they start learning a new language, polyglots actually know what to do. When I was learning French, which was my first language that I was teaching myself, I didn't learn any verb conjugations for the first 3 years because I didn't know if I was supposed to learn those. But after 4 or 5 years when I started learning Italian with already an advanced level of French, I knew what to do. So I was like, okay, right now I have to learn present tense because to talk about stuff in general. Then I should find a way to talk about things that happened in the past. Then I should find a way to talk about things that will happen in the future. And right now I should learn the perfect tense. I actually don't have to learn it because I can create it in my head. So if it's j'avais fait in French, it's probably going to be io avevo fatto in Italian. So I don't even have to study it. After some point, if you have enough background, languages are just going to make sense. And you're going to learn them super easily. Something else that I remember is that when I was learning French, I heard a lot of people saying, French is so easy because like as someone who speaks Spanish, it's kind of the same thing. And I hated hearing that kind of stuff because how can it be easy for you? Like, French is literally my only problem in life. I can't learn it, I feel stupid, and you're saying me that French is easy because of Spanish. Are they even similar? And then years later, I understood this reality when I was able to speak Spanish after 3 weeks of learning. So next time, before getting frustrated when you see someone learning their 20th language super easily, just think that it's normal for them. Also be aware of the fact that they also had a lot of difficulties while they were learning their first language. You think that it was so easy for me to learn French, German, or Russian, which are the first ones of their language families? No? Do you have an idea how I learned Russian? So yes, I had a lot of difficulties learning Russian, but since I have a good grammar and vocabulary knowledge in Russian, I was trying to learn Serbian just for fun, just to forget it the next day, but that was still entertaining and impressive, right? Of course, this thing applies also for the vocabulary. Like, I never spent a lot of time trying to learn Spanish or Dutch vocabulary, or when I was reading stuff in Serbian, the words were either similar to Russian or Turkish. Something else that you should maybe learn from polyglots is how confident they are when it comes to speaking and to integrating languages in their lives. I know that there are some people out there thinking that we are exaggerating the whole language learning thing, because on TikTok especially, people on TikTok are just so mean. I don't understand, but on TikTok especially, I get lots of comments like this. Okay, we literally understood that you speak all those languages, congratulations, but can you please talk about something else? I don't know why people are finding those stuff annoying. I love being friends with people who are open to different cultures and languages and who are making efforts to learn them actually. So one of the reasons why polyglots are that successful is because they love what they're doing. They're obsessed with languages and they just have the motivation to do that. So maybe they are more successful than someone who is learning languages just like that. Most of them aren't really afraid to speak a language because they know that it's normal to make mistakes. And people will be still coming to us and saying, you learn all those languages and your English still sounds weird. Without knowing that, the reason why your English sounds weird is because you speak French, German, Dutch, Swedish, and not only English. And also, as you keep gathering all those experiences while learning languages, you realize how things are supposed to work. I maybe realized this thing a little bit late, because when I was learning Russian and German, which were my 7th and 8th languages, I was still expecting that I would start speaking them in a couple of weeks as I did with Italian and Spanish, but when it didn't happen that way, I started thinking that I was probably not a real polyglot, I was probably a little bit dumb. Later, I understood that that's completely normal to not be fluent in a couple of weeks and even months. And to finish this video, I want to warn everyone here about something. You know how the whole social media thing works, right? Not everything that you see on social media is completely true. People are sharing always the happy and good moments of their lives, and they're sharing less about the sad parts. And I have been observing a similar thing with languages as well. Because as I said, I met so many polyglots. And sometimes it's like, oh, you speak Italian, so let's have a conversation in Italian. And they're like, I actually learned some Spanish and then Italian was like kind of the same, so yeah, I say that I speak Italian, but the amount of times that I experience this with people. I also genuinely hate when people think that all polyglots are like this, and when they see a polyglot, they're like, oh, they probably just know the basics. Never feel bad about someone else's success, okay? And also, as I said, not everything that you see is real, but of course that doesn't mean that every single successful person that you see is lying about their success. You got what I want to say, right? If you liked that video, if that was useful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can also follow me on Instagram because I share my language learning journey on a daily basis. Thanks for having the time to watch this video and being with me today. See you on another video. Tschüss!